I want to start off by saying I apologize because we're being attacked by pollen.
Yes, Pollen,
Yeah.
you are my sworn enemy till death.
I think somebody suggested addiction to social media, and I thought it was a good topic.
Phones in general.
Yeah, because I'm not very social media so I think it's a good topic because I think that's something we actually disagree on.
I think we
So
should.
something fruitful might come from it.
I think we should.
Who's
Let
who's,
Asphalt
it-
take the
who's
reins.
who is pro phone addiction here, and who's against it?
As in saying that an addiction's a good thing, or saying that addictions exist.
I don't know whatever point you made the point. Why are you asking me?
No. Somebody said that we should talk about it, and I said, yeah, we should. It's a good
Yeah.
topic. That was you, Moz. You suggested it. So what did you mean by social media
So
addiction?
I meant, do you think people are too hooked onto their phones in today's day and age, and whether is that a good or a bad thing?
Not everyone. Can't generalize to everyone, but I think in general, like overall, it has increased a lot. And you see a lot of people just walking around day to day, especially on the trains in the morning. I see it. I'll be there reading a book. I don't know if that's any better than having a phone addiction, but yeah, I'm reading a book. I look around the train. I see 90% of the people on their phone with headphones in. Do you see what I mean?
See, what I would say to you, what I would say to that is, it depends what you're using it for, right? So, for example, like I said, if I'm on the train or something like that, I'd read a book, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's not really social media, though, is it? That's just
No.
using your phone. I think the issue is like people spending hours and hours on like
Oh, you mean them
Instagram, and yeah, that's what,
excessive Snapchat?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Do you mean that's a problem for the younger generation? Because I know
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I have a younger sister, and she's constantly on her phone, updating her Snapchat. There's not a moment in the day where, like even yesterday, we were like getting ready for iftar, and she just whipped her phone out and she started recording. I was like, "What are you doing? Like, eat the food, innit?"
with the family.
Yeah, it's like eat. You're there to eat. You're not there to like chuck your food on Snapchat. No one even cares. They probably see like 1,000 kebabs on there a day anyway.
Yeah, but it's, yeah, I don't know.
Do you think it detracts from? So let's just say like holidays, for example, is a good one. When people go on holiday,
It detracts from the experience. Like,
So, like-
you're so worried about putting it out there and letting people know that you're doing X, Y, Z, that you're not enjoying or you're not taking in the experience that you're experiencing
Yeah.
or what you're doing.
because say like for example, if we were to go to Paris, everyone would take the same exact picture from the same exact location of the Eiffel Tower.
I think we
Like this planet does not need another
I
Eiffel Tower.
I think we're guilty of that. Didn't we do exactly that?
That should not be mentioned on this podcast.
I kind of disagree. I feel like if people want, the whole reason you follow people on social media is to find out what they're doing in life, and if they want to upload pictures of their holiday, then let them do it. That's how they get the enjoyment. I don't see anything wrong with it personally. It doesn't affect me or you in any way if you're not following them, if you're not on social media yourself. So I say just let them do what they want to do.
What's the saying? Everything is okay in the right.
Moderation.
Yeah, in moderation. Yeah, that's it. So everything's okay in moderation, but you get these kids like that grow up. So for example, I used to tutor, right? And like I'm telling you, these kids used to sit there for 2 hours, and like 60-70% of that time was like on social media, on their phones and stuff like that. I was the sort of teacher, I was chill, like let them do what they want as long as they're getting their work done. But 60-70% of their time on social media, maybe 20% of the time doing learning and stuff, and then 10% of the time just messing around. I don't know if the maths adds up there, but you get my drift. Like it's not so much an issue for us because you go to work, you have a responsibility. So where adults use social media, it's in moderation because your life or whatever your commitments come first, and that's sort of stuff that you have to fulfill. But take that away, so look at kids, for example, who don't have any commitments and stuff, and they spend hours on social media, and social media itself is not, well, depending on how you use it, it's not too much of an issue. Like if you're just putting things out there because you're doing it, yeah, fair enough. Like you might enjoy it more if you don't put it out there, but like I said, maybe it's not that much of an issue. But if you're going and you're doing things for the sake of putting them out there, for the sake of people seeing you doing these things, that's where issues sort of prop up and come up. Because, for example, you've probably seen or you've probably heard about like the rise of like mental illness and stuff like that. And I think that stems from partially it stems from social media, because you get these kids trying to portray a cool lifestyle, or putting out a cool lifestyle that they might see other people doing, and they get so involved in trying to achieve that and stuff that it's like a rabbit hole. It leads to mental illness, and those people that they're following, right, might only be showing like 10-15% of their life. So whereas these kids, young kids, might be seeing these people and thinking, right, they're sick, I want to live like that, I want to do things like that. They spend so much time trying to do that, when actually that's not reality. Those people are not living like that. I think in that sense, yeah, social media can have a bad effect, but again, in moderation, it's fine. If you limit the amount your kids can use it, it's fine.
Well, are we talking about social media addiction in youths or adults? Just to clarify before I make my next point.
I reckon in general.
In general,
I reckon in general, but what I'm saying is it affects kids more.
it does. It definitely affects kids more because
And it's more prominent in kids.
when we were younger, we didn't have. We probably had MSN Live, I think, or AOL. Chat.
Even that wasn't available at fingertip.
Yeah, pretty much. So
Go home at
we-
6
yeah.
p.m.
So we were forced to, like, if we wanted to do something, we'd have to meet up with our friends and talk to them in person. Play football together. Exactly. Do whatever, but that's what we were doing. But I think we have to understand technology's advanced at a crazy rate over the past 10 years, where now you can just literally open up your phone, you can send a whole, video of yourself to your friend. So I mean, so there's no need for that physical interaction. So it's partly to do with technology as well. I don't blame them. Like, you see kids nowadays, it's a lot of, I call it bad parenting. When they want to feed their kid, what do? Let's give him an iPad. Let's let him watch whatever he wants to watch, just so he quietly eats. So I mean, so I don't think it's mainly the kids' fault. It's parents as well, because there's a lot of kids out there who don't use social media at all. They're very outgoing. They live how we were when we were younger. So I think it does come down to parenting as well, to some extent. The reason there's social media addiction. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, it does help. It doesn't help that most technology companies create their products to be addictive. As in, there is like scientific studies to prove that, like a ding on your iPhone or your Android, it's like it feeds the dopamine in your head to make it gratifying for you to open a notification. So you're always getting that itch, like, have I been messaged? Did my phone vibrate? I think that's like a symptom. Yeah, it's
a psychological experiment.
No, I think even like feeling vibrations in your pocket when your phone even hasn't vibrated is like a physical issue where people think they've been notified on their phone, but they haven't, and it's just their brain trying to get that dopamine fix. So I think there is a problem where companies should be held accountable for making people addicted to their phones.
This is going way out there, but do you think that suggests or that supports the fact that the world around us has advanced further than humans can comprehend it? Because I remember reading, this was quite some time ago, I can't remember the exact specifics, but it was something about how humans naturally can only like maintain a relationship with X number of people. I can't remember, like if you go back 150 years, whatever, people would have friendships, or their immediate people that they knew would be like, I'm going to say a number, but it might not be correct, 60-70 people. And you see these people online now that, they might have 1,000, 2,000 followers, but if you actually ask them how many of those people do you know, how many of those do you interact with, it's still the same that it was back 150 years ago. Because as humans, our nature, we're only able to keep close relationships with X number of people, and that hasn't changed.
No, but I mean, I take your point, but in terms of let's look at a similar aspect, celebrities. Yeah, they don't know they don't know 90% of their fans, maybe even 99% of their fans.
No, but I'm saying your average person nowadays, let's say 500 followers. Yeah, how many of them do you think they have a close relationship with?
Yeah, that's true. But then can you really consider them as friends? Like you follow random people. I follow this Liva Goto guy on Twitter. He's funny. I've never met the guy. I wouldn't consider him a friend. I'm just a follower of him. He's not a celebrity. You see what I mean? He's just a normal guy tweeting. I do believe we're digressing though, because we're trying to.
Yeah, I can't remember what we're talking about. I can't remember what you said.
We're discussing about what you consider a friend now, which is you can take that in many ways as possible. But
do you guys think that it leads?
Does social media make you unhappy?
Yeah, or does it contribute to mental illness?
I think it opens it up.
Or generally,
I saw a study recently said people who take excessive selfies have been known to have some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? They're basically medically insane. They have medically insane tendencies. People who take excessive selfies, there's something wrong with their brain.
Along with ADHD or like schizophrenia.
I don't know. I can't remember the exact article. I remember reading it.
You have to be a certain type of person. Like you always like
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not social media, but you have to be a certain type of person to sit there and take like 20, 30 pictures, bro, of yourself. Come on, who does that? I can't comprehend someone doing that. That makes no sense to me.
That's right. Very true.
But I mean, there's always like positive and negative connotations of social media. I feel like if you're a business now,
Yeah,
for
your
example,
business was your old company. I don't know about your current company, but it was heavily based on social media, wasn't it?
Yes, I mean the current one is currently quite active as well on LinkedIn. If you can count that as social media.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah,
Yeah, I think social media is like a great tool. There's a lot of benefits.
in
But I do think-
moderation.
it's very
Yeah.
powerful, man. Like
Very,
people,
very
people underestimate how powerful social media is. You don't need websites anymore. So, I'll give an example. We were thinking of redesigning a website for a soccer school, but so when we were deciding, should we bother redesigning the website? And it turns out, how many people actually look at the website?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
No one. You Google something now, the first thing you go to is you look at the Google reviews, or you go to the Instagram page or the Twitter feed, and especially restaurants. It's
Yeah.
very, very powerful within restaurants. You see a nice picture online of some food, you're like, I want to try that. That looks
Exactly, yeah.
nice. And then, next Saturday, let's go out with the boys. Let's go there. So social media is very powerful, but then there's also lots of negative aspects. You have, I don't want to bring it up, but pedophiles,
Mm.
notorious pedophiles out there.
Yeah, catfishing's a big one.
Exactly. It's very easy to just, portray a fake persona and do what you like on the internet because it gives you the anonymity. It's like there was have any of you heard of 4chan?
Heard of what?
4chan.
Isn't it like a really controversial social media?
It's a very controversial. It's like Reddit, but very messed up. It's sort of like the dark web of.
Oh, is that the one with the frog?
Yeah.
I saw that something on BBC. Like this, it was an innocent drawing from like a book,
Yeah.
and then it turned into like a symbol of like right wing extremism.
Yeah. So what happens is with that website, you can post anonymously, and you can
It's
post.
never a good idea.
You can post about anything. Your IP address is protected. You can do whatever. And there was one report of someone who's using that platform to show images of murders he'd committed.
Wow.
What?
So he'd post anonymously pictures of people he'd abducted, and then he'd say, "Oh, what should I do to them next?"
And how was the reception to that?
It was
That's crazy.
vile, like, because the people on 4chan, they're messed up, but they're not messed up to that extent. You see what I mean? And they tried everything to track him down. They got the police involved, and then it just spirals out of control. But that's an aspect of social media that's gone out of control, and that's the extreme negative aspect of it.
Again, I think that comes down to the fact that
Service
New Muller spreadable?
made with real churned butter for a creamy taste. Perfect on my canapes.
It's so Mullerlicious. Lose the toppings. It's so good all by itself.
Hey!
New Muller spreadable. Muller, official spreadable of British athletics.
Available only at selected Tesco stores, subject to availability.
technology, social media, everything as a whole has progressed so quickly in the last 10, 20, 30, whatever you want to call it, years. But we as a society haven't been able to keep up with it. The way we deal with things now is we're reactive. So if something happens and we're like, okay, how do we prevent that from happening again? It takes for it to happen for us to stop it. We're not preventive, if that makes sense.
We're not proactive. We're reactive.
Yeah, we're not proactive.
Do you think you can link this to the recent Facebook scandal where, like, we're unknowingly signing away so much of our privacy, and it's not until like there's a massive scandal like the Cambridge Analytica, whatever it was, like influencing like national elections. It takes something of that magnitude for us to react and say, hold on, we didn't agree to this like massive data collection.
Yeah, I think that comes down again to the fact that these companies have grown so big, like Facebook, Google, and these companies are so big that no government they're untouchable. Like, you can't do anything to them. For example, Apple's headquarters is in Ireland. Bruv, what's in Ireland? What are they doing in Ireland? Why are they in Ireland? Why are they, because of tax reasons? And they're pumping so much money through there. But how can you say anything to Apple? You can't say anything to them. It's the fact that these corporations are so big, the technology's gone so far that can we control it? Can we bring it back into line now? Can we control these media outlets and stuff? Can we control Facebook? Prevent them from? At the end of the day, they're offering a service, right? All that I don't know the specifics, but I'm guessing. I remember hearing that the Trump administration and the Clinton administration, they basically just bought ads or something like that on Facebook, and people saw them. How can you prevent that from happening? If somebody's going to pay for a service that Facebook offers to them, how can you control, or how can the government control who they sell that service to or who they don't?
That happened with Vote Leave.
Yeah, the exact same thing. They bought ads, and who's going to step in and say, right, you can sell it to them or you can't sell it to them? Facebook will say to you, who are you, mate? Do you know what I mean? They're so big that they're untouchable.
It can only be stopped or stepped in after it's been done.
Yeah.
It's like, oh crap, we didn't anticipate this to happen. Fine, now we got to make a regulation.
Yeah.
What's done is done. That's how to prove that you're going to have to deal with the repercussions of that.
But regulations used to work because the issues used to be regional, right? So, for example, a lot of human or a lot of society's advancements in, say, the 90s to the early 2000s were based around the financial market. That's when the financial market grew and stuff. And an easy way to control a financial market is introduce regulation, right? Easy. Something wrong happens, boom, you introduce regulations. So, for example, the financial crash happened and they've introduced like these new capital frameworks, Basel III and Solvency II, which means companies have to keep more cash on deck, right? Or more capital on deck. That's a reactive measure. But if you introduce regulation for a company, and let's say if they introduce regulation for Facebook in the UK, how can they impose that on Facebook when there might be a contradicting regulation all the way on the other side of the world? And how can Facebook make a product that complies with both? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So these corporations are bigger than governments now. They're more powerful than governments. I think that's sort of the way they're trying to go, is trying to break them up. But can you break them up? Can you break these massive corporations up? I don't think it's possible.
No, because they still influx a lot of money. That's the main reason you
Doesn't
can't.
Apple like have more cash than the American government?
Then I don't know about the...
Reserve or something,
Yeah.
like more in their reserve
It's
than-
insane.
Yeah.
Like, just think about that. Like, America has like a country's existed for hundreds of years, and this Apple's been around for what, maybe 50, 60 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, ever since the advent of computer technology,
Yeah.
they've existed, and they've already got more cash than the most powerful superpower on earth.
I just think the technologies, the companies, everything has grown at such a fast pace that no one knows what the solution is. Like going back to the point where we're reactive, we're waiting for something to happen, and then we're going to think of a solution. We can't foresee what's going to happen because nothing like this has happened in the history.
Mm.
Like, this is the
But
first time.
that's how you progress as a human race, isn't it? It's like it's happened throughout history where you learn from your mistakes. That's teaching of life. You can't design a new product. I'll use an example of the drug testing in pharmaceutical business. You can't release a drug you just created straight away. You have to test it for a long period of time to find any negative impacts of it first.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that's fine if it affects, say for example, in your example, if that affects the people that take the drugs, it's only affecting people who have that illness and will potentially take that drug, right?
Yeah, but that's who it's designed for.
Yeah. But that's affecting a small number of people.
Yeah.
Let's take for example the issue with the Cambridge Analytica thing, right?
Yeah.
That affects pretty
Everyone.
much the world.
Yeah.
Right? Who's in power in America, whether we like it or not, America is like the most powerful country in the world. What they say a lot of the time goes. And if Cambridge Analytica affected that presidency or whatever, that affects the whole world. So it's not, I don't know, it's not the same as how it used to be. Like things that we used to be reactive, but that was fine because it didn't affect that many people. This affects the world as a whole. Imagine Trump gets trigger happy, launches a nuke, Kim Jong-un, boom, 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 all over. That affects everyone, right? So you can't. There's situations, or we're at the point now where we can't be reactive. We have to be.
So I feel
proactive.
like we've reached a point where we've become less intelligent as a species, and I'll tell you why. Because back in the day, there was no internet. If you had to, find something out, you'd have to know it, and you'd have to remember it. Now, it's like if I need to call you, Bilal, I've got you saved on my phone. I can just look you up. Back then, you had to remember your contact details. So I mean,
Would you say that's less intelligence or laziness?
it's not laziness. We're smart enough to know that, you know what, we don't need to remember that anymore. We can just look it up. Do you see what I mean? But
It's a slippery slope.
but
But
what's
is that-
happened?
is that-
what's
is-
happened though is we've lost our ability to critical think. Yeah, because
How about
everything.
autocorrect?
Sorry.
The similar thing, autocorrect.
Yeah.
You know, you just think, you just lazily just type a word.
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, but
It's close to it,
is
it's fine.
is that
Yeah, it's fine.
is that a lack of, or is that a deterioration in intellect, or is that an increase in efficiency?
Deterioration in intellect, because
I think that's. I don't think it is. I think it's an increase in efficiency
no, because you have we rely so heavily on technology now, but none of us understand actually how it works.
yeah, but if for example, if you took the time, or let's say for example, let me give you an example. Okay, let's say what's his name? What's the Apple don name, man? Steve Jobs. If Steve Jobs took the time to understand every single thing about how electricity works, because let's be honest, his thingy was based on thingy.
Yeah.
He took every single he took the time to understand every single thing of how it worked and blah 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 blah. Would he have had the time to create what he created? If Elon Musk took the time to understand every single little, maybe he might be a clever guy, but see what I'm saying? If you
No,
take the
but
time to understand every single little
difference with
thing,
them is they have an idea in mind of what they want to achieve, but they don't know at the time when they were designing it how to achieve that. So they have to look at the fundamentals of the science beforehand and combine it to then make their final product.
I disagree with you. I don't think.
Do you think randomly they could just mix parts together and create their product?
No, but
But that's not how it works.
No, but you said that technology and internet and whatever, blah blah blah. Has,
No, I'm saying technology is fine. If you're a man of science, technology is your biggest deal. You can do so much with it. I'm talking about the general person, you know, your retail worker who has no interest in science but wants to rely on technology so heavily.
Okay, if you're talking about individuals, then I'd
Yeah.
agree with you, because people are less reliant on having to know information to hand, because they know that they can just pop up their phone, pop it on Google. But as a race as a whole, or as a society as a whole, I think what you're saying, where it holds back an individual, as a society, it actually helps us develop, because one person doesn't need to understand anything. If we come together, one person understands another thing, the other person understands another thing, boom boom boom, you know, you progress further than you would if you took the time to understand everything.
But wouldn't it be better if everyone understood everything?
Is there enough time for that?
Mm.
Well,
I
if-
think
You always
that's
have
why.
if there's enough time for one person to understand something, why is there not time for another person?
But that's why we've had so much innovation and progression in the last century or so, is because the fundamental reason why we've had all this is because of communication, right? One person doesn't need to be a jack of all trades. Like, you could know a little bit of something,
Yeah.
and somebody from across the world who you can now communicate with, since the internet was invented, since phones were invented, since email was invented,
So
and you can now combine your knowledge and you know, innovate or produce that product or whatever it is, solve the problem together. Whereas going back, if you took the time, or when you had to take the time to understand everything, you know, you were trying to do everything, so you weren't innovating as much.
Yeah.
So actually, as a society, I think it has made us smarter.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, even like throughout the course of human history, you've always had people who are better at certain things and more like specialized in certain things than others. So you've always had the thinkers and the philosophers, and you've always had the scientists and people who have been like good mathematicians and stuff. But then
Yeah.
you've always had like the vast majority of people have always been like laymen who've been doing.
I mean, you need both ends, right?
yeah. So you
need
can't
people to-
you can't say everyone needs to be an Einstein for
Yeah.
society to progress. I think there's like a delicate balance of how a society should be structured. You always need your doctors, you always need your engineers and your accountants, but you also need the people who work in like labor. You also need the people who clean up the streets and build like cars with their hands.
You're sounding a bit like a communist. I'm not gonna let you.
No, I agree with you to some extent, but I still believe that we were more intelligent X amount of years ago than we are
I
now.
think you see we were more practically intelligent. I think as a society
I
as a
think
whole,
we've become more lazy. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, definitely.
I think we're heading towards an age where
Yeah.
we're all going to become like stars in Wall-E. We're going to be on like pushchairs and
You know, the Hunger Games, where like all they do is eat and then just puke it out and then eat more and then just puke it
Yeah,
out. Like,
basically.
because they have technology to do everything. Yeah, in the city, like they have. Remember
The
outside
Capitol.
they ha-
The Citadel.
yeah, the Citadel. Sorry, yeah. Like, yeah,
It's mad.
I just picture like it becoming like that.
The
They have
world
technology
is
to do everything.
the world is
Like,
too convenient.
Think about it. not even that long ago, you'd go to the supermarket and you'd have people attending to the cashiers. Now, bro, you don't need them. The only reason why they have them there is just to have them there. Like, if they wanted to get rid of them tomorrow, they could get rid of them tomorrow. Train drivers, right? The only reason why you still have train drivers is because of the unions. If you get rid of the unions, right? Do you think TfL are going to keep train drivers? No.
We have cars that can park themselves now.
Cars, yeah. Come on, my bro. Yeah. Cars that park themselves. Yeah.
You don't
Driverless
need, you don't need
cars.
humans anymore.
Yeah. So it's going to get
Robots
to
are
a point,
taking
yeah,
over.
where you're just not going to need humans.
Do you think we will be like in a Matrix? We just wake up as Neo one day and be like,
Yeah, I think so.
You're just part of the thing.
yeah, you're just part of the system.
Yeah, it's mad.